Howdy folks, welcome to Lorcana Wednesday here at Rudrose Entertainment, and what are your top 10 least favorite things about Lorcana? We're going to find out. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notifications button for more Lorcana videos every Wednesday. We are so close to 1,000 subs, and your help in reaching that goal is greatly appreciated. Start of a new year, I thought it was the perfect time to look at some of my favorite and least favorite things about Lorcana as a game so far. 2 sets in, going on our 3rd set coming up early this year. So this week will be top 10 least favorite things, and then next week will be top 10 favorite things. So let's get to the list in no particular order. Number 10, you cannot check the Inkwell. In this game, especially compared to something like Magic, Magic has cards specifically called lands that you use to generate your resources, whereas in Lorcana, you take any card that's inkable and turn it upside down. So not only can this be a bit confusing visually, as your Inkwell looks exactly like the back of all your other cards in your card sleeves, and I've heard of many a player, including myself once or twice, mixing up your hand with your Inkwell. You can't check your Inkwell. You can't look at the cards you put in there, and I don't really understand why that is. There have been several more complex turns that I've taken where I don't always ink at the very start of the turn. Sometimes I want to draw a little deeper into the turn, see what else I get. Maybe I want to ink a card I don't originally have in my hand, and I will forget, well, wait a minute, did I even ink this turn? And the ability to check the Inkwell would be so helpful that if you looked at, most likely to the far left, far right, wherever you naturally put your ink, and then, oh, okay, yes, because I had that card and I put it in there. And what would really be the downside? If both players could do it, it's not an unfair advantage for anyone. Maybe they don't want you keeping track of the cards from your deck, but I don't think that's crazy either. That, let's say I'm playing Ruby Purple Control, and oh my, how many Maleficent Dragons have I inked? And I check, oh, there's 3 in there. Okay, I know there's 1 left in the deck, or I only run 3, so okay, they're all in there. Like, I just don't really understand the point of it. It just seems like a detriment when it would be pure benefit if they allowed you to do it. Number 9, the abilities on cards are meaningless. So most of the cards that have effects actually have ability names tied to those effects. For example, the Madame Mim Fox is a card that I know when it enters play, if it's alone, it has to banish itself. Otherwise, you return another character back to its hand, and then she has Rush. Well, it turns out that's actually an ability. She doesn't just enter and do that. There's technically an ability there called Chasing the Rabbit. Now, I wouldn't know that if you asked me off the top of my head, because I just don't think of the card that way, and almost no one I know refers to it that way. I was playing a locals where a single player did actually refer to a card ability. I couldn't even tell you what character it was, but they played they declared the ability before they even put the character down. And I was thinking in my head, what are you talking about? What does that mean? If he says, oh, here's Cusco. Oh, here's Merlin the Goat. Here's Madame Mim the Fox. Oh, okay, I know what that card does. But when he referred to it as the ability, I just thought, huh? Now, granted, I can't imagine a ton of development time goes into these, but it's something they're just going to have to constantly come up with as well. It just seems like a meaningless waste of space, as again, the character itself doesn't have an ability. Oh, use the ability Chasing the Rabbit when she's in play. Final Fantasy TCG, for example, has special abilities that it makes a bit sense. It makes sense why those are named. I just don't understand why there's names on these abilities. Hardly anything breaking about the game, but it just seems like a needless aspect on the cards. Could save more room for more text without those. Number 8, uninkable card choices. I don't hate the uninkable mechanic overall. As a matter of fact, you might find it in next week's list. However, some of the card choices for uninkable are frankly insane. In set 1, it was very obvious that what uninkable was supposed to be was on very particularly powerful cards. So Dragonfire is uninkable. Costs 5 and it gets rid of anything on the field. Okay, I get that. Be prepared. 7 cost uninkable because it gets rid of everything on the field. Okay, there's nothing like that. It's very strong. I understand. I get why Cusco is uninkable because he quests for 3, has ward, and will kill whatever gets rid of him. Again, very strong. I understand that. I understand why Merlin the Rabbit is uninkable because while his stats aren't amazing, he draws a card on entry and death guaranteed, and of course he can quest for lore, challenge, all those things. And then you have cards like Steal from the Rich, which is a 5-cost uninkable that of course costs pennies because no one even uses it, and cards like James that, if he was inkable, might actually see some play. He is essentially a Grandma Talia effect with 2 more lore, and yeah, why can't he be inked? I just don't get it. I don't think the stats and the abilities of this card warrant it to be that strong. It very much feels like they just throw darts at a dartboard. Okay, Sapphire needs an uninkable card. Thump. All right, make Mrs. Judson uninkable. Number 7, the triple rarity on cards. And when I say triple rarity, I specifically mean the super rare slots that you get when you're opening booster packs. Technically, there's a total of 5 rarity, but when you're looking for those last slots, you can get either a rare, a super rare, or a legendary. And having 3 choices there instead of the more common 2 in other card games just means there's that much more to collect and open, and you will most likely get screwed on your packs that much harder, as you could get a bunch of crappy rares as opposed to any legendaries or super legendaries. And in general, legendaries do tend to be more powerful cards or have more unique abilities, but that's not always the case. And if you're like me, you're very unlucky and you open 2 Steal from the Rich within the same pack, one as the foil slot and one as a rare slot. Oh, goody. I have opened a couple boxes of this game and have still do not have all the rares even from one single set, just because there's so many of them, and the super rares on top of that, and the legendaries. 3 rarities is just too much, and it absolutely feels like a money grab. Number 6 is the blank cards that also fits in with the size of the set. In set 1, there were 40 cards that have legit 0 text on them. They are just bodies. They are just characters. They don't do anything special. And I thought maybe they decreased it with set 2, but there are still 33 cards with that. There are also plenty of cards that technically have text, but it's so minor or so small that they don't see play, or you may forget it's even on there. Cards such as Duke Weaselton with his Ward, or Gaston with his Reckless. It helps contribute to the overall feeling that there's just a lot of chaff and pack fodder in so much of these sets. Yes, there are 200 cards in a set, which is a lot, and certainly more than games like Final Fantasy provide in their sets, but when so many of them are essentially blank and unusable, they're just there to fill out the guaranteed common or uncommon slot in your packs. And again, that just kind of feels like a rip-off in that it's done for money more than these cards need to be in the game. Number 5 is first player advantage, and it feels stronger in this game than most of the card games I've played, more so even than Magic the Gathering, and I think it's pretty backbreaking in Magic as well. Going first is colossal in this game. If you are an aggro deck, winning the die roll, losing the die roll can be the difference between victory and defeat. That alone, just because if you get to set up, let's say, Lilo or Maleficent on turn 1, and then your opponent, the earliest they can even attack you is turn 2, and you can at least guarantee get off that quest. It's huge. The way the power dynamic shifts, that on your turn 2, you've set out whatever 2-drop you have, and already they're ready to do a Fox combo on turn 3. Going first is insanely advantageous, and it can feel very deflating to feel as though the game is over at the start of the die roll. It is not a guarantee, of course. I have won plenty of games going second, as many other people have, but I have never once heard someone that they willingly want to go second at any of my locals, on Pixelborn, you name it, because it's so obvious the advantage going first provides you. Could they do anything to fix this? I'm sure they could. I don't know what the answer would be. Maybe going second, you start with 1 card in your Inkwell, but it's exerted, so you can't use it on turn 1, so you are still committed to a 1-drop on your first turn. I don't know. Maybe you draw an extra card. Maybe you start with 1 lore. I'm not sure what it is, but in its current state, going first is so insanely strong that there should be a reason to go second. So going second should not be the, well, you're stuck with that because that's how the die rolled for you. There should be a reason to go second, even if it's only certain decks that want to do it, but there should at least be enough of a advantage that, you know what, I actually will choose to go second here. Number 4 is the lack of theme. I like Lorcana as a game. It's fun, it's enjoyable, I've enjoyed my time with it overall, but the theme is pretty poor, if non-existent altogether. Yes, these are recognizable Disney characters from movies and animated shows and songs and anything you can think of, but at no point do I feel like these must be Disney characters. You could make any IP with these. You could have created something brand new. There is nothing about Ursula coming in and making your opponent lose a lore and drawing a card that feels like something Ursula would do. All the Madame Mim Merlin cards, nothing about them feels like those characters. You just, okay, that's what that card does. The only card I can think of that kind of makes me think of that character is Elsa's Spirits of Winter card, which comes in and essentially freezes your opponent's card so they can't get up. But again, you could also tie that to anything else. So at no point do I really feel like these have to be Disney characters. Oh my gosh, only the Beast could give me this feeling when he comes into play. Only the Cheshire Cat can give me this feeling when he comes into play. The theme is obviously there just in the characters themselves, and that's what's selling a lot of this game, but you could slap any IP on these effects. I wish they could make it really feel like, no, this is a Disney game. You must have these Disney characters in order to make it feel the way it needs to. And number 3, the sing mechanic. Somewhat piggybacking on the theme is the sing mechanic. In general, I am not a fan of this mechanic for a few reasons. One, it's simply too powerful in certain forms, having characters with the ability to just sing very quickly, especially cards like the Evil Queen, who is a 5 cost that can be shifted on turn 2, so therefore she can already sing Grab Your Swords in a Whole New World, which is just bonkers. It's also just free value, which you can use to make any card game stronger, that, hey, now what if you can play this card for free instead of having to pay for it? That's not necessarily creative, that's not unique, it's just now do this thing for free. What I wish they would have done, too, is tied the theme more into the characters who sing it. It's pretty ridiculous to have Aladdin sing Friends on the Other Side, or to have Hades sing A Whole New World. I understand why they didn't want to restrict it to a specific character like Shift is, that, hey, we know, let's say there was a card, part of your world in the movie that's Ariel's song, and I understand, well, we don't want to tie that exclusively to Ariel, but perhaps they could have done something where they tied it to the franchise of the movie. So what if, instead of just Ariel, any character from The Little Mermaid can sing Part of Your World? Any character from The Princess and the Frog can sing Friends on the Other Side. Anyone from Aladdin can sing A Whole New World. Not entirely perfect, as again, it would be rather silly to have Jafar sing that, but it at least fits a bit more and makes more sense than, again, the ridiculousness of having Elsa sing Teeth and Ambitions. Number 2, instant lore gain. This was a huge disappointment for me, as it felt like the designers were very careful to make it impossible to instantly win the game within set 1. And to clarify what I mean by that, if you had an empty board with no characters on it, there was no way you could just slam something down and instantly win the game. The only way I can even think of that it was possible is if you had some combination of heroic Aladdin with a pocket watch to give him rush, etc. And that's, again, some big old combination that you need these specific combinations of cards. However, in set 2, we have cards like the Merlin Goat, like the Sleepy Flutes, that just instantly give you lore the second they're played, possibly even when they leave play in the case of the Goat. There's also cards that give you lore when you challenge, such as Shere Khan, or cards that give you lore when you heal, such as Grand Pabby. It has vastly sped up the game in a way that I was not expecting so soon already here in set 2. I figured it would come out eventually, hopefully 10 or 11 sets down the line, but to get these many abusive cards so quick into the game, you can see why the meta has dominated things like the Goat, because it's just insane to be able to get lore that quickly and not have to have that waiting period, which I thought felt intentional. That you present a threat such as, okay, here's the Mad Hatter, I'm going to quest for 3 lore next turn unless you can stop him. And it felt intentional that your opponent was given a chance to stop him, or was given a chance to maybe even outrace you and get there before you could. Whereas the instant lore feels like it has stripped away even more of what little interaction there was in this game, and in a game where you can't interact on your opponent's turn, wasn't a whole lot to begin with anyway. And number 1 is the distribution of the game as well as the price of the game. And this kind of goes together. Anyone who's been following it knows Lorcana had a very difficult launch back in August. Product was insanely scarce. Scalpers were everywhere. They were selling boxes for absurd amounts of hundreds of dollars. But the sad thing is, even at its base MSRP of $144 US, it still feels like a ripoff, especially only getting 24 packs in a box. Every other card game I've played tends to give you 36 packs in a box, and some of them are priced at $100, $115, $120. So for this game to charge even more and that you get even less, even opening a single box when I got it finally at MSRP just did not feel good. Add on things like the triple rarity on top of that, and it makes it so difficult to finish a playset, especially if you're trying to get 4 of every particular single card. Luckily, this has improved as the year has gone on, and hopefully this is something that will improve as the game continues to go on, although I do have a fear that with every new set coming out, they might go through this cycle again, where it's absurd prices to start, and then maybe it eventually gets flooded and stuff starts to come come down. I would love to see them up the amount of packs in a box to either $36 a pack or drop the price of boxes, because at its current ratio of 24 packs in a box for $144, that doesn't feel good to spend. And there you have it. My top 10 least favorite things about Disney Lorcana. What are some of your least favorite things about the game? Let me know in the comments below. Look forward to next week's video, where if you want to hear all the positive stuff, we're going to go over all the great things about Lorcana that we do enjoy about it. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the new year, and until next time, take care.